Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts.
We, the Keepers of the Flame, serve the will of the Dreamer. His instructions whispered from beyond the wall of sleep. But now, the Hiveborn are here, on Rayclast, and they seek to poison our world. We must close their breaches, destroy their hives, slay their breach lords. And by his gifts, the Dreamer provides. They brought this war to our world, but we shall end it.
You got the kitchen there. All right, babe. Right, all you.
Are you listening? Listen to me. Listen to me. Fantasy Flan. I'm telling the world, Fantasy Flan, and every time you see my face, oh, you want more Flan.
Flan! Flan! Give me Flan!
One more time.
Half the players, they don't think like that. Half the players on Reddit are going, I'm gonna play my Poison Assassin! And you're telling them, how are you gonna scale your build? And they're just like,
However, guys, what about this? What about instead of Slayer, we go Assassin? And the reason we go Assassin is for no reason whatsoever. Just so that we can have 12 less endurance charges, 8 less frenzy charges, less crit, and less damage. I was thinking, it seems pretty good, right?
did he say assassin? Rule number 1 in this league, guys. Anybody who tells you to play assassin is trying to assassinate your league start. That's all it is. Don't do it, guys. I'm only here to help you, and anyone who says the word assassin is literally trying to assassinate your league start. He's trying to assassinate your league start so he becomes rich and you become poor, because that class is
Any faith in kinetic rain. I don't like new skills, I don't like starting new skills, let somebody else suffer, and if somebody else is like, hey, this build is fucking insane, then you play it.
Hear me out. We forbid normal English in our household. We demand all our dinner guests from here on out, and we will have many, to speak like Donnie Thornberry would. I will. I'll do it. I will commit myself to learning Thornberry. That's the language he speaks. Hey, how's it going? It's me, Vashthalas, if you didn't already know. Thanks for tuning in. This video will be about my League Starter plans for Path of Exile's upcoming season, 3.27, Keepers of the Flame. I hope you guys are excited. I know I am. But before I go any further, I'd like to really emphasize that the League Starter plans I'm about to share with you are extremely loose. They are not set in stone. They're not to convince you that this is a good idea. For all I know, this could be me setting myself up for failure. I've got a couple of unique items that I'm interested in. I've got a couple of passive trees that I want to share with you guys. And I have a backup plan that I want to share as well in case things go wrong. I don't want to leave you high and dry. So if all that sounds cool with you, don't forget to like and subscribe. I plan on playing POISON Kinetic Assassin as my League Starter.
Kinetic Rain is a new wand attack which covers the ground in unstable kinetic energy. These hazards collapse at the slightest touch, releasing their energies into any unfortunate soul who happens to be standing on them. With enough projectiles and area of effect, an enterprising exile could carpet the world in dangerous kinetic force.
Let us begin. I'm going to be going over some unique items that I find interesting. I'm going to be going over some skills that will help you get started and on your way to fleshing out the rest of the build, as well as some passive trees that I've drawn up. Feel free to change them if you want, but I've also got a backup plan in case the original plan for POISON Kinetic Rain Assassin doesn't work out. It's a trapper. You can play anything you want in case this original plan doesn't work out, but that's what I would plan on doing. So, with all that out of the way, up first is Ungol's Harmony. This unique amulet is interesting because of 300% increased global critical strike chance. Assassin's reworked Ascendancy now has synergy with Perfect Agony. If you don't know what Perfect Agony does, it makes it so you can't apply ailments unless you've done it through a critical strike. And then it also makes it so your damage over time is scaled through critical strike multiplier instead of damage over time multiplier, which is the usual modifier that these types of builds will go with. And because of that synergy, that's why I'm considering investing into this amulet. Yet to be seen if it is only for the early game, because increased critical strike chance would be very useful early on. Lets us use Perfect Agony that much earlier. But an amulet that is dedicated to critical strike chance and only critical strike chance seems a little wasteful, and critical strike chance isn't that hard to come by, right? I'm sure we could solve it eventually. Betrayal's Sting. This comes from a Pinnacle boss. It's a ring. 33% chance to inflict an additional poison on the same target when you inflict poison. Kinetic Rain has a handsome amount of overlap, and that's really all I was thinking about with this is I wonder how much extra poison we would get due to that overlap. Is it worth sacrificing a rare ring? I don't know. It also comes with a heavy downside of minus 25% to all elemental resistances. And we're probably not even going to have this on like day 2, as it comes from a Pinnacle boss. Dendrobate. I pathed the build in a specific way in case I wanted to use this, as it has attribute thresholds. If you see increased poison damage there at the bottom, you have at least 300 dexterity, and then increased duration of your poisons if you have at least a certain amount of intelligence. Dexterity with my pathing would be guaranteed. Feel free to path differently if you so choose. But with mine, you would only need a little bit of intelligence across 1 or 2 items, and you would be able to fully satisfy Dendrobate, which is a quintessential chess piece for some poison builds. Yet to be seen if it would be the end-all be-all chess piece for this build's purposes. Raven's Secret. I started thinking about this because we will most likely have access to power charges due to being an assassin, and that means that we could find some usefulness out of Graven's Secret, as it would then grant us absorption charges instead, which make it so elemental recoup is what those charges provide instead of critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier. Now, if we were to use Ralakesh's Impatience in tandem with Graven's Secret, we could have our cake and eat it too. We could have those power charges always at the max, and then whenever we generate a power charge, we would instead get those absorption charges as well. I think that has a lot of potential with Assassin's new Ascendancy node, the one that grants 40% of physical damage recouped as life. That's a lot of recoup, and Graven's Secret can also provide a whole heck of a lot of recoup for elemental damage. I tried this belt out on an Ancestral Protector Hierophant playthrough a couple of seasons ago, and I thought it worked really, really well. I would highly recommend playing around with Graven's Secret if you haven't yet. That's it for the unique items that I found most interesting. I'm sure there's a couple that I've missed. I was just doing a quick glaze, and I didn't want to put one on this list just because it had the tag Poison. I didn't want to include it just because it was related to the build. I only wanted it to be on this list in case it is actually something I'm considering trying to use. Alright, I had a mock-up playthrough recently. We obviously don't have access to Kinetic Rain yet, so I used Kinetic Bolt. I only made it to Act 3. It's not meant to impress you. These are just some things that will hopefully help you get started. So, Kinetic Bolt, chance to poison, chance to bleed. How do you get chance to bleed? It's not available on my shadow. You would use a duelist mule. You'll just get through to the first town on that duelist, take that support gem that is guaranteed for the character, and deposit it into the stash tab in that first town. Delete the character right after, and you're on your way. Why chance to bleed? There's potentially other support gems that you can use instead, but I would recommend chance to bleed as it makes continuing to move very comfy. You'll apply a poison and it usually won't be enough to kill the target. But if you apply the poison and the chance to bleed procs, and those monsters start chasing you on your way to the next area, oh yeah, they are absolutely dying. And I thought that was very cozy, so I would highly recommend muling chance to bleed. Flame Wall is not useful for Kinetic Rain, just saying that up front. But if you plan on using Kinetic Bolt or Kinetic Blast, this could be useful as it's free, flat damage for projectiles that pass through it, as well as with that added fire damage, they could potentially apply Ignite, which would also scale from our Perfect Agony later on. Sniper's Mark is only useful for Kinetic Bolt or Kinetic Blast. Assassin's Mark would be useful for Kinetic Rain, which is obviously what I'm planning on using. Herald of Agony. This will give us free poison chance as well as a minion that does damage based off of how many targets we have poisoned or poison stacks or so. Precision. This is going to help us actually hit targets, and it comes with some free critical strike chance. Plague Bearer. We're dealing poison through attacks, which means that we're going to be building up Plague Bearer. It's free damage. It is pre-mitigated poison damage. Why not? I almost forgot to talk to you guys about the Ascendancies, so let me get my webcam out of the way again. And our first Ascendancy node is 100% going to be Toxic Delivery. Makes our critical strikes deal more poison damage. A couple of other things as well. Pick that one up first. I'm not really sure about Infused Toxins. We'll give it a try, and we'll see. I mean, it's probably just easier to craft an elemental weapon than it is poison weapon. Maybe this is just intended to be taken early on. Definitely going to be giving it a try. My third Ascendancy will be Unstable Infusion. That gives us +1 power charges and the ability to generate them very consistently. And our fourth Ascendancy, or maybe honestly we might choose one of these defensive Ascendancies earlier than the other offense options. But I'm kind of stuck between Shadowed Blood and Mistwalker. We are going to wait and see about the Bloodline Ascendancies. They released a couple of them today. I don't think they released all of them. And I haven't really seen anything stick out in a way that like speaks to me just yet. So I think we need a little bit of time on those Bloodline Ascendancies. I need some more time to digest them. I'll go over that on my day one update. I'll probably have a better idea by then. I'm going to keep my webcam out of the way for this one just so that you can see everything. We got a couple passive trees for you. Poison Kinetic Rain. Poison Kinetic Rain, Chaos Inoculation. Elemental Kinetic Rain in case poison sucks. And then if Kinetic Rain Assassin just feels terrible, I plan on swapping over to a Firestorm Trapper or maybe an Ice Trapper. I don't know. I like trap support. I've always wanted to make a trap support build. Maybe we make like a Reap Trapper. That could be fun. So those are the builds. I guess I'll go over the main one. The rest of them I'll let you go through on your own time. So you would obviously start out with these, in my opinion. I think you would start out with this little path. You could go for the physical and chaos damage if you really want, but the attack speed is probably going to make it feel a little bit smoother. You can spend this dexterity point here if you really want the extra damage. I think the dexterity might be more useful for Danger Bait. Spell Suppression, Critical Strike Chance and Critical Strike Multiplier, Life, Power Charge, Frenzy Charge, Life, Leech, 5% of Leech is Instant Mastery, 500 to Accuracy Mastery, 10% chance to gain a Frenzy Charge when you hit a marked enemy Mastery, Poison Chance, Poison Steel Damage Faster, Perfect Agony, Additional Projectile for more overlap. We could potentially be interested in monsters cannot block your attacks if we want to do Expedition as one of our league starting Atlas strategies. That might be something that I plan on doing. Inveterate, free spell suppression. Heartseeker, crit multi-mastery. Mana cost of attacks. Preservation efficiency. Suppression, life. Poison chance. Enemies poisoned by you can't deal critical strikes. Critical strike chance, crit multi. This one also has a mastery that's potentially useful. If the kinetic rain is slow, we could get 15% more projectile speed. More spell suppression. I forgot to mention, where is it? The chance to suppress lucky spell damage. That'll be useful early on. Life. Bleed, or critical strike multiplier against bleeding enemies, and critical strike chance against bleeding enemies, and then even more critical strike chance against bleeding enemies. I think that's a very useful cluster right there for our purposes. Preservation efficiency, blind as a defensive layer, as well as critical strike chance that comes from that cluster right there. Block chance, because we're going to be using a shield. I may be using Iron Reflexes. I'm not really sure about this one, but I'm going to leave it allocated. I just like armor, and I like Petrified Blood. Paired with some recoup, I think that that's a very comfy defensive core. Frenzy Charge, you could get the Endurance Charge if there's a way to generate it consistently. Life, and then more block chance. This block mastery, I'm really torn on. I don't know if I want more block chance, or if I want critical strike multiplier per 10 energy shield. That could potentially be a lot of damage over time if we have the right shield on. But the more defensive option is obviously chance to block attack damage per 5% chance to block on an equipped shield. It also puts us next to Versatile Combatant. I really like this pathing. I really like this pathing. Originally I was trying to head up here more for influence, and I thought I wanted to be next to Tempest Blast and Disintegration. But I don't really think so. I may even end up sacrificing a couple of nodes so that I can pick up Circle of Life, as it's free recoup. Recoup is a really, really good recovery layer. I think a lot of people sleep on it. So yep, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Those are my League Starter plans for 3.27 Keepers of the Flame. Hopefully you found it informative. Hopefully you found it entertaining. Things are kind of up in the air right now. Nothing's set in stone, and we got a backup plan just in case things don't work out. Let me know what you think of my plans down below, or talk to me about what your League Starter plans are. I'd love to hear about them. Consider leaving a like or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you guys on that day 1 Halloween update. Ooh, spooky. Peace out. Have fun.